Networking.
Right, so I'm Michael Nagles and I'm the network leader for 4Networking. Part of that job entails traveling around our network and working with the community to help them take advantage of everything that 4Networking offers. I want you to think about your 4Networking membership, and I want you to think about the last time you bought a car. How many of you took that car home, took all the tires off of it, put it on blocks? Anybody? No? Except in Brad's neighborhood where they take the tires off for you? Yeah. So what I'm going to talk today is the 4 elements of a world-class foresight. It's based on a book called Talk Like Ted. All right, so it's not my content, but there's some amazing parallels between TED Talks and foresights. How many of you have heard of TED Talks? Okay, technology, entertainment, and design. Fantastic presentations that have some immense parallels between what we do at 4Networking with our foresights. Okay, this is roughly, hey, if you do cards, do them in the right order. Card number 10 on the top. This is roughly my 431st meeting, right? And I've done about 200 foresights. I've observed, obviously, about 430 foresights. Some really brilliant foresights and some that have failed miserably. In the foresights I've done some really fantastic foresights and some that have failed miserably. So I've taken away some of that. I'm going to share it with you today. If you think about your foresight, it is one of the wheels of your car. 4Networking offers you 4 things. Meetings, that's where you get your bacon, right? Team membership, an enhanced opportunity to build your business using your team role. The foresight opportunity, which is what we're doing here today, okay? And the community, the online community, the social, the 50% social part, all the events that we do around the country. It's surprising how many people don't want to take advantage of the foresight opportunity. And it's one of the wheels off your car. Now, you're a smarter than average crowd. I'm going to use many of you as an example in this presentation for the next few minutes. So I said there were 3 elements to a world-class foresight. The first one is a foresight that creates an emotional connection with your audience. Okay? Emotional foresights tell a story. Think about some of the foresights we've seen today. Paul, David Taylor, right? They tell stories that make you bond with them, make you want to be connected with them. David Taylor tells the story about Sue and his daughter Sue and her battle with brain tumors. He uses some of his own life story and some of his challenges and successes to draw you in to this virtual cuddle where you feel like you really know him when he finishes the foresight. Paul spoke about his battle with cancer and brought it down to a level where you could truly understand it. Wakes up with a headache, finds out he's got cancer. An emotional foresight inspires you and it touches your heart. It makes you think. It makes you want to be with that person. Now, take that back to the reason you joined 4Networking. How many of you joined 4Networking to be found? Anybody here in the witness protection program besides me? All right. So most of us join 4Networking because we want to make 2 things. We want to be visible and we want to make connections. We want to build relationships. Think about your relationship with Paul after his foresight today. Think about how many of you had met David before you came here today? All right. How many of you feel like you know David leaving here today? Absolutely. Absolutely. So an emotional foresight draws people and makes that connection. The next element is a novel foresight. And what novel kind of means is educational. Okay? An educational foresight teaches you something new. If you think about the human psychology, our brains are trained to look for new information. We want to be taught stuff. And if you can leave a meeting, if you leave a 4Networking meeting, feeling like you've learned something that day, that will help build a better relationship with the person who did the presentation. So think about Sean Roswell and her foresight. And for those of you watching the video, you can find all of this stuff on 4NTV. All of these foresights are now on the web channel. Think about Sean Roswell and the way she drew us in and told a story with her, with the artwork and the way you map out what you're thinking, where you want to go. Think about how that drew you into her as a business owner, okay? How many of you have ever met a guy named Steve the Barman? All right, if you haven't met him, I bet you've heard of him, all right? And Steve the Barman has mastered the art of the Foresight. Steve the Barman, you can tell by his name, owns a mobile bartending business. And he does bartending at weddings and big parties and things like that. And he does a Foresight where he never sells. He sets up a bar and he does what bartenders do best, banter. He talks for 20 minutes, but at the same time he's mixing drinks. And he tells a little bit about his personal story, and then he mixes a drink. And go anywhere in Cambridgeshire and ask somebody to show you their shake face, and they know what you mean by a shake face. It's part of his brand. And so what Steve does is he draws people in just by making them feel like they're in the local. All right? When you'll leave, you'll know how to make a good mojito or a porn star martini when you learn that. But the other thing is you'll know what Steve does. And you won't leave one of those meetings not wanting to hire Steve for your next event. But he never sells. He never says, I'm a mobile bartender. He never gives you the pitch. But when he walks out of that meeting, your next wedding, your next event, you're going to call Steve. And so that's an educational foresight. He draws you into that. And the third element of a world-class foresight is a memorable foresight. A foresight that just gives you content that's not necessarily emotional, but gives you a connectivity, gives you a reason to remember that person. They're open and transparent. They talk about things. Again, not as emotional as Paul or David, but actually a little more like Gareth. Okay? Gareth entertained us. He told us about the marathons and the blood. You could see the look on everybody's face when someone asked him, why do you do it? And he said, I have a debt. I've donated 5 pints of blood. Someone else has donated 6 to save my life. I owe somebody somewhere a pint of blood. That's memorable. I have terrible short-term memory, and I remember that. All right? So Brad does very transparent foresights. He tells his story about growing up, his life, how he started the business, the battles in the business. Very transparent. He doesn't try to bullshit you. He's just Brad. He just gets on stage and he does Brad, for better or for worse sometimes, but he's just Brad. So it's very memorable. You don't leave Brad's foresights wanting to cry. Well, I do sometimes, but that's a different relationship. But they're foresights because they're transparent. And you see this guy and he's the big star. He's on TV, he does books, he's on stage, and then you just have this conversation with him. The conversation is the best element of a really good foresight. Just having a conversation with the room and drawing people in. When you have a conversation with someone, it's like anything else. You build a relationship with them. Again, that goes back to why we're here, to build a relationship with someone that might be a part of your business or you can be a part of their business. Some side notes about foresighting. First one is the easiest one. No, it's not. It's the hardest one. Be prepared. Be prepared. And people think being prepared is just turning up with the notes in hand. Being prepared for a foresight and for networking starts with the minute you say, yeah, I'll do that foresight. Book me in. All right? When we book you in, what are you going to talk about? I'll get back to you. No, you won't. Tell me right now, what are you going to talk about? Our teams struggle with this more than anything else in the team role is getting people to give us a title and a foresight for their description. Now, if you want to do a foresight, know what you're going to talk about. Be ready. And give us a title. Give us a description. All right? Talk like Ted. That's my title. How to deliver the 3 elements of a world-class foresight. That's my description. Doesn't have to be rocket science. Keep it simple. Okay? Because remember that foresight title and description, that's marketing material for your business. Okay? That's going to go out on our website. It goes out in emails. We have a process now that we've just introduced in the past couple of weeks where every time we close a meeting, an email goes out to everybody that attended that tells them what's happening at the next meeting. And part of that is the title and description of the next foresight. And so it says we'll meet in 2 weeks and our foresighter will be Bob and Bob will talk about this. And that goes out in an email. You want your description to sell that. You want people in the room. All right? Nothing worse than foresighting to a room with only 6 or 7 people in it, 10 people in it. But you get in a room where there's 18 people, 20 people, 25 people, man, there's a serious energy there. All right? So promote your own meeting. Being prepared means marketing the meeting where you're going to be the speaker, because the whole reason you're doing it is get visibility and credibility, right? So you want to get a crowd in the room. You want to get the room full of people who are there to hear your message. Make sure your profile's ready, okay? That email that goes out after the meeting is going to have your picture on it. Do you look like a question mark, or do you look like Ann? All right? I won't go to a meeting with someone who looks like a question mark, but I'll go to a meeting with someone who looks like Ann, okay? So your profile, your image, your logo, all right? This is all marketing material for you coming. When that email goes out, people are going to follow that back to your profile, because if they've never heard of you before, they've never heard you speak, they're going to want to learn more about you. So they'll go back and they'll look at your profile. Okay? Being prepared, practice, practice, practice. Never do it in front of the room before you've done it in front of your dog. Honest, that's the best tip I can give you. The best foresight I've ever done, I did in this room back in February. Brad mentioned it. It's also the worst foresight I ever did. Because although I delivered good content and everybody enjoyed it, and a lot of people talk about it now, I book in to do foresights and people say, we want you to do the one you did on TV. All right? But here's the thing. I didn't practice it. I did it in my head, sitting in my hotel room the night before we did the filming. I wrote out 3 or 4 cue cards, and I stood up to deliver it. And I'm going to tell you the worst part of that when I get closer to the end of this. Avoid the use of a lot of data in your presentation, because you know what? No one will remember it. They'll remember that you overwhelmed them with data, but they won't remember what the data was. Okay? Focus on stories. The best foresights, think back to what we've seen in this room today, think about what you're looking at on 4 Networking TV. The best foresights are the one where people tell stories. Okay? Stories plant thoughts and ideas, a lot like seeds in soil. Okay? Would you ever not hire Gareth to do something? Because whatever he does, you can bet he does it. He does it. He takes it home. All right? Would you ever not engage David Taylor to do something for you? Because David Taylor, when he does it, he does it. Okay? And that's what the foresight, that's the seed you're planting. Stories, I keep talking about stories. Stories are just like data, but they've got soul. They've got empathy. They've got feeling. And that's what people are looking for. Another side tip, keep it simple. It's only 18 minutes. Don't try to baffle them with brilliance, all right? Because you'll end up just befuddling with bullshit, okay? Keep it simple. Know your audience and know the room you're going to present in. And I don't care how much you love it, very, 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 very rarely is there an opportunity for you to pull out a projector and put up a PowerPoint. PowerPoint for the foresight element, just not practical, okay? Think of all the foresights I've done this year. I've probably been in 4 places where the room was perfect for PowerPoint. If the room's not perfect for PowerPoint, leave it in the car. It'll become a distraction. You'll find that the Wi-Fi doesn't work. You won't be able to download what you thought you could download. The screen will be crooked, or it won't come out of the wall like it's supposed to. Your projector, you won't be able to get a lead to the wall. Just leave your PowerPoint in the car and just talk to them. Just talk to them. It's okay to use a prop, have some things in your hand. I started off with Carmine Gallo's book, How to Talk Like Ted, all right, just to show you that there was a book called Talk Like Ted. So it's okay to have some props. David had some great props when he did his presentation earlier today. Finally, finish big. I talked earlier about how I did the best foresight and the worst foresight right in this room. The worst part of it was I didn't have an ending in mind. I didn't know how I was going to finish it. And so as the clock was running down and I got all my funny lines across and people had laughed in the right spots and I shocked a few of them with some stories I told about my life and where I come from and who I am, but I didn't have in mind how I was going to wrap it up. And so I just kind of ran out the clock, and we got to the end, and I just kind of went, ta-da! And everybody looked at me like, well, that had nothing to do with the rest of the story. So have an ending in mind. Know how you're going to end it. You'll notice on the floor up here, and I'll share this app with anybody that wants it, I've got my iPhone laying on the floor, and I've got this brilliant countdown timer, because a Foresight is supposed to be 18 minutes. And if you want to get on the wrong side of a team at any meeting, go past 27 minutes after the hour. 9:27, 12:27, I'm sorry, 9:27, 12:27, I know that's right, 9:27, 1:27, right, and 7:27. And so you set your timer, and I've got two brilliant ones that you can run. And I just set them for 27 minutes past the hour, and some of my Foresights are 23 minutes, some of them are 16, but I finish at 27 minutes past the hour. And I've never had a group leader in over a year now, I've never had a group leader say, your time's up, Michael. I've had some of them try to cut me short. I correct them on that. So, so my best Foresight was my worst Foresight because I didn't have a big finish. So what I learned from that Foresight is that you'd always have a big finish. So today I'm going to finish with a song. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to finish with a song. I'm going to finish with this. Don't fake it until you make it. Fake it until you become it. All right? Do your Foresight. If it doesn't go well, go home, edit your notes, go back to the next meeting and do it again. And do it again, and do it again, and do it again, and do it again. And everyone will be a little bit better. There's never a group in 4 networking that'll turn away a world-class Foresighter. So I'm Michael Nagles. I'm the network leader for 4 networking. This is what I do. And I couldn't do it without you. So thanks for your time today.
Smile, be chat, join 4 networking.